Дорогие родители,
Dear parents, dear friends, you're welcome to our second meeting in this year, and we decided to dedicate it to the theme of the year, almost the theme of the year, to the reading of the books. It is your idea to make this year the year of literature. Absolutely right. Yes, this is my idea. I wanted to study the history of different countries in our represented in our school with altogether, but I understood that it won't fit in a year to study the whole history of all the countries. So we decided to limit it only to the history of um, the study of written language and of writing and how all the written works began. And another point is that we want all of our students to read and for them to understand what they are reading. And right now, the dear colleagues and parents, for those of you who don't speak Russian, you need to choose the option with translation and you need to choose English. Miss Olga is helping us to choose that. Please click on the dashboard.
translation, and then choose English. And then you will hear English because we'll be doing the first part in Russian. Да, я вот еще раз дал инструкцию,
And
что
once again, I give an instruction for those who need a translation from Russian to English. Please, on the dashboard, turn on the translation and then choose English option. I would love to say that today we have um, two sessions. First is in Russian with translation into English, and the second session is in English with translation to Russian. So, dear parents, we are practicing your Russian or English. Coming back to our talk, our discourse, reading and books. When today we're speaking about education in many things, and many people think about education, specifically about AI, the artificial intelligence, the new technologies, and so on. And I agree with you 100% that we need to come back to the foundations, which our International School of Tomorrow suggests. And it suggests reading the books, on the paper books, the fact that they can write with pencils, pens, and they can write on paper. It's a good skill and it helps to develop their brains. And today's message by Miss Evgeniya Rubina and Ms. Janat Erelchikova, you'll hear the information on how reading is helping us socially, intellectually, and all other relationships. And Ms. Natalie, please introduce our speakers. Thank you so much, Mr. Len. I'm ready to introduce the first session, and we decided to do it like this, and we talked to different colleagues, and we decided that we don't need to invite any other specific people, but it would be very great to hear this story from our teachers who study with our program. Moreover, that we have wonderful program and wonderful teachers. Miss Evgenia Rubina is a helper in the primary 4 class, and she's where the supervisor is Miss Carol Shepard, and she's our school psychologist, and this is her main profession. But she combines both So please welcome Miss Evgeniya Rubina and her session that was announced. And Miss Genia will introduce it one more time. Good evening, everybody. I'm very glad to be with you here today. Unfortunately, I cannot say that I see all of you, but I'm sure that all those who wanted to be here, they came. And I think that it is a wonderful time. It is 5 o'clock, 5 часов, and we have some association with England and the time to take a cup of coffee or tea, prepare something sweet for yourself because we want it to be a cozy atmosphere. Let it be so. So let's start. The first thing from which I would love, with which I would like to start, I would love to ask you probably to return to your childhood. Let's imagine that we have a time machine and that we are coming back to the time when you were 4 or 5 year old child. Imagine just to appear right there at that moment of time and try to remember your favorite books of the time, maybe the favorite uh, fairy tales or stories. Who was reading it to you? Maybe we remember some stories or the names of the stories, the illustrations. I think it's very important when we think about our own children and when we try to help them to love reading. It's important for us to come back to our own experience that we had as children, and our child continues living with us throughout all of our lives, and even though some other responsibilities are added, but when we look at ourselves as children, it's easier to understand our own um, kids and offspring. I hope that you had the opportunity to refresh some memories. And right now, let's come to the main point. Let's come to the message of what is being said. And I would like to start that right now we have such an opinion that is repeated for the last couple of years, that the contemporary children are not reading at all or reading very little. And there are so many different reasons for that. But if we're speaking about the new, how new the situation is, it is not very new to us because there are some things that are preventing the reading of the books. It's just the reasons themselves were different. Right now, the main enemy for us is internet or gadgets, other devices. It is one of the reasons, but it is not the main reason. Nevertheless, we believe that good our children need good books, and they're not less important than they were before. And if you're here today, I believe that you have this hope that children can love reading, and we'll think about this uh, tonight, and we'll discuss it as well. So let's go on. And I want to begin with this slide. You have some pictures in front of you. You could read what's written here. It is about the book is the book the book is the way to success, and uh, in my and in my opinion, a different Russian sayings, wise sayings come to my mind because I'm Russian. Like, if you're not gonna read the books, you will forget everything very soon, or that the books are the best medicine from silliness or foolishness. And so, if we're gonna read books, we'll be more intelligent. I don't know how much this picture reflects and illustrates what I'm trying to share right now, but truly it is one of the main aspects of reading, and many believe that this is the uh, basics and this is fundamental for our reading, but I would rather say that it is one of them. And if we think about why people in the modern society and children in the modern society don't read very much. I have a question for you. Don't you think they might be overloaded? Because there are so many sources of information apart from the books. So they're reading actively, listening, listening actively, and the quality of what they receive, it's another topic as well. At school, they're reading a lot, and besides, we want our children to be very intelligent and to know many things. So it's not a secret that the children are overloaded with extra activities, and there they can be reading, writing, and so on. And that's why at some moment um, the child's brain might give a message that stop, I'm overloaded, and uh, then the denial of the book starts. So besides the school program, the things that he must read and study, maybe the child indeed is overloaded. But the second point with which we'll mention is gadgets and devices. And this picture um, draws some other different feelings for me, certainly, because for me, the time of the book is a luxury, the time to slow down, the time to breathe in, to get some inspiration. I cannot say that it was like that in my childhood or when I was a teenager, but right now I have the opportunity to choose a book, and I hope that for the most of our readers and for our parents, you know the book from this side as well. The books that something is cozy, that something that brings us pleasure and joy and enjoyment. And now we'll go through different ages, and my part will be dedicated to reading from childhood to teenagers, and Miss Jeanette will tell you more about how teenagers cope with that. If we're talking about infants and children from their birth time to 1 year. Psychologists are talking about the honeymoon of reading books, and it begins from 3 months old, and it lasts until 9 months of a child. It's very when a child experiences joy from the conversation with his parents or grandparents, close people in the family, the baby really needs the talking itself, the conversation, and not reading something, some methodologies. But really, a child in this stage of life, he needs just talking, just needs the conversation with parents, because little babies, they just receive this very freely, and at some point, of course, the book might appear, because right now we have so many choices of books, the books that are like toys, the books that have illustrations. And if we are talking about little babies, the illustrations must be very they should be a quality, they should include quality pictures, they should be very, they should have solid pages that it they would not be torn very easily. But they're very simple and they're very bright. And when a parent or a close friend is reading something to child, they should try to wake up all the acting and all the arts that he has, all the expression, all the emotions, and even not the book itself is drawing as much as attention as what and how you are presenting the book, what emotions you're carrying with it. It might not be the whole time that you're spending with a child that you dedicate to books, but at least maybe 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the evening, it is enough. But it's good when you connect this to the ritual of going to bed and sleeping, because it would help you to fall asleep, because the book before sleep, before night, if the it's a good option, but if the child is younger, the younger the child is, the shorter the stories should be. But let's continue and let's go to the preschoolers, and the ages are from 3.5 to 6 years old. Is the moment when imagination is working very actively in the uh, children's lives, and then reading can become an adventure. A lot of different tasks can be solved through the reading. And I just wrote something that came to my mind. It's a journey, it's a comfort at the same time, because at this age already, children listen something with an interest very attentively about some life situations that he can relate to and understand, maybe stories from the children of the same age. And it's the best ground for developing the sense of humor in children. And of course, some children begin to read already. And I would rather say here that it's reading to a grown-up child, because at this age, children can learn reading mechanically. Of course, some children from 5, 6 years old, they already can read fast and understand everything. But most of all, here at this age, children read mechanically. And if we are talking about love to reading, here, of course, we are saying about uh, reading from parents to children, and it's just an image, and the stories can be very diverse, very different. And you as parents can bring an option and choice to the reading of books. But if we're talking about the children who are starting to read, there are lots of books where there's very little, the text is not presented very much, but there are so many illustrations, and the children start loving to read. And if we're talking about the reading by the children themselves, it's very important that children are not overloaded with text at this age, but they can be offered to read different books by different authors, different illustrations. I believe that right now you can enjoy different books that are translated, and there is a variety, there is a choice, maybe even by modern authors. The choice is very vast, and it is very good for us to use it, and it works for our good, especially that children have uh, imagination working very well. We, of course, talk about discussion of the books while you're going to some place and you're traveling, or you're reading it in some other time. Let's go to the next stage. It's the primary school from 6.5 age through 10 years old. And the same kind of reading techniques and relation to reading remains, because we think about it as a process. But I would add to this is the reading is a means to start reflection about different things, and children have different questions. It's not the age when the questions appear, because the question appeared earlier, but at this age, the child can do this more consciously. He's ready to think more consciously, and reflection, meditation, and different questions start. And this is the age when the book becomes an aspect of reading and reflection, meditation on something. You can offer different encyclopedias to child. Maybe they have some more sense to that. Children can read by themselves now, even though the joint reading with parents, it still continues. But here it would be interesting to add also the reading with the child. When you are reading and discussing it, you read about Vasya and Masha, and you ask, oh, but if you would be in this situation, how would you react? What do you think you would do, or something of a kind? So this is how we read with this age. And we are going to the next section right now, the books versus gadgets and devices. We already had a separate seminar on gadgets, and we might be talking about it later. But there is a common mistake that we do is that we are putting the books versus gadgets. You know, oh, it would be better for you to read books than to use your gadget. Most probably, the child won't love start even loving reading because you're putting it in opposition and you're making them contrary. We're not talking about bad or good right now because it's just we are using gadgets. We are not substituting one with another, but we need to control the amount of usage that we give to our child, how much they use the gadgets. And for us, it may be maybe minus. It's not only books, it can be cartoons, music, maybe they can have a walk. Please don't try to put them on the opposite sides because then the children will try to deny books. But so let's not do like that, but let's put it as a choice, as an option. And the activity that can continue with the children that are much older is just to read together, read out loud with children together. Maybe you have a time in your family that is dedicated only to reading altogether, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, it maybe even until the teenage, uh, or even after or during this teenage time when you can read together, read out loud. Maybe you can bring out something interesting for him. So all of this takes place. And the last part that I wanted to share, that in the families where people are reading, when parents are reading, even when animals are reading, so everybody's reading. If everybody is reading, if everybody is discussing them, if you are visiting some theaters, it's a key to success so that the child grows up and he loves reading. And at this moment, I would like to finish mm, my session, and I would love to give the floor to Miss Natalie. Thank you so much, Ms. Zhenya. It was very interesting to learn the opinion of a psychologist. I think many of you would say that generally it's all that we knew before, and only one thing is left is to change something in our families or in ourselves, and to make this first step to help the child to love, or at least not to deny books and this opportunity to read. And of course, you can ask different questions right now. And if you have any questions left, you can ask them right now. And if the questions you don't have them yet, then you can write them in the chat. And even if we don't answer them right away, then we'll give them to Evgenia, and she will answer them later on. And she will contact you, or you can come in person to school and talk specifically about your case. And from my side, I would love to add an example that happened in my life. My youngest child, who liked to read in general, and he was looking for an opportunity to read to someone else. I was usually busy. I needed to cook. He came to the kitchen. He would be sitting in the kitchen, and he would be reading a book. And he read the whole book while I was um, cooking. He was reading about the myths from the ancient Greece. And if I remember something, it's because he was reading to me, and he could be reading the same myths all over and over again. And in such way, I remembered some things that I would be studying long time ago in school. So this is just my personal experience. Maybe someone else could find it useful. Thank you so much, Miss Evgenia. Are there any questions? If yes, we have an opportunity to do so. If there are no questions, it's all right. You could ask them later.